GR IAS Academy.
100 days, 100 themes, 1 goal UPSC Prelims. Hello everyone, welcome back to Mission Surya. In this program, we deal with current affairs completely from Prelims perspective. So let's get started. Today our first topic is delimitation. So why are we studying about delimitation now? Because there is a debate about the delimitation. Why? Because political representation changes. Why? What happened? After freezing of census, people from southern states, they have controlled their population. So if census are revised and seats are allocated based on the population, people who have taken measures, the southern states which have taken measures to control the population, they get lesser seats when compared to the northern states who has not performed better in controlling population. So what happens because of this? People who has done good work towards decreasing the population get disadvantage, and people who has not worked to control the population, they get advantage despite they didn't work to control the population. So that is the delimitation debate going on. So what is the delimitation? From the discussion we understand that number of seats will be decided based on the population. Okay, how they are going to decide? They will draw constituencies. So those constituencies, they will change the boundaries of the constituencies based on the population. Since southern states have controlled their population, more area, less number of representatives. But when it comes to the North Indian, what happens? Less area, more constituencies, thus more representatives. So this will happen. Okay. This delimitation will be done for determining constituencies, right? For which? For Lok Sabha and assemblies. Okay. Who conduct this? Delimitation Commission does this exercise. Okay. Okay. There are certain provisions in our constitution regarding this. Okay. Article 82 tells that Parliament enacts delimitation act after census. Okay. Article 170 tells division of states into constituencies. Okay. What about Article 330 and 332? Deals with the reservation of seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So what about the Delimitation Commission? It is an independent body and a high powered body which was set up in 52, 63, 73 and 2002. What are its important features? Delimitation Commission's orders have force of law and not subjected to judicial review except for limited provisions, and it cannot be modified by Parliament or state legislatures. So whatever the Delimitation Commission gives for the constituencies, that will be final. Okay. We just told census were frozen. Based on 1971 census, seat allocations were frozen till now. And this was extended by 84th Constitutional Amendment of 2001 till after 2026 census. Okay. So when will be the next census? That is post 2027. So what about this delimitation? Why everyone is debating about delimitation? Because this ensures equal representation. That means one vote will be having one value. and this reflects population changes. We just told that southern states have controlled their population, right? Southern states have controlled their population, right? So, if delimitation census are revised, what happens? Population here or less, so less seats for assemblies and parliament. So, census will reflect change in the population, and if delimitation is done based on the new census, southern states will be at disadvantage. Okay. So, what about the key issues and concerns? Issues is nothing but this one, north-south divide. States with higher population growth, that is North Indian, they will get more seats, and southern states, they will lose because of the population control they have done all these years. This will lead to the federal imbalance. So, till now there is a balance between the center state. So, what happens because of this delimitation exercise post 2026? Southern states will get lesser seats, so northern states will get more seats. What happens? Whole North Indian seats can control whole India because they will be majority in number of seats. So, that is how federalism will be disturbed. So, and people who have worked for population control, they will be penalized for their work, okay, because of the reduced representation, okay. And delimitation is a complex process which may take 3 to 5 years usually, and courts, they avoid interference to prevent election delays. However, judicial review is limited in extreme cases that will be allowed. So, here we have to use balanced formula, not purely population based, to avoid penalizing southern states for controlling their population, and to consider other indicators like TFR and development indicators. And there is a need to increase the number of seats in the Lok Sabha to ensure transparency and consensus as well, and delimitation should be conducted periodically with latest census data, okay. So, when you compare with other countries, USA has fixed number of seats and EU has digressive proportionality, okay. Moving to the next topic, state finances, okay. So, why are we studying about this now? Because there were recent reports by RBI which highlight the trends in state physical health, debt and expenditure patterns. So, what about the fiscal position of states? States have maintained fiscal deficit around 3%, okay. So, they are maintaining some discipline regarding fiscal matters. So, they are not crossing this 3%. So, that is good actually. But however, they were rising again due to what? Due to because of slower revenue growth and high capital spending. This is because of this fiscal deficit is increasing nowadays. So, what are the indicators which tell about the fiscal health? The fiscal deficit says how much percentage of revenue is less, that is 3.33% of GDP. Revenue deficit, it is mostly there but vulnerable. Debt levels are more but ideal, okay. What about the capital expenditure? It increased. That means we are creating better assets, okay. What are the important features of state finances? We want to improve our quality on which we are spending our expenses. We are focusing on more on infrastructure and asset creation. We are reducing revenue expenditure. States have very less own tax revenue. They depend mostly on GST and central transfers. And because of the narrow tax received by the state directly, they are vulnerable financially. And since they are creating high assets, but yet they are having deficit, right? Because of the deficit and debts, there is high debt to GSDP ratios, and because of the debts they are having huge interest payments, and sometimes they are using this debt for consumption rather than for asset creation. Sometimes deficit is so much. So whatever the revenue is collected by the states, it has been already committed to the salaries, pensions and interest payments for the debts they have taken earlier. So there is very limited space to spend for asset creation and infrastructure creation. Okay, we do have some challenges. The first one is subsidy, because we are giving subsidies for electricity, for loan waivers and welfare transfer. So these lead to the fiscal stress among the states. And the second one is losses in the power sector, because DISCOMs, distribution companies, their losses continue due to the less state finances, and there are huge liabilities for electricity sector by the state. And continuously there was a decline in the central support due to the reduction in GST and grants. So there will be burden on the state to spend and to take debt for their consumption as well. And there is transparency issues as well. There are very irregular standards for reporting, and there is a shadow budgeting which distorts fiscal reality, and some aging states which causes to the increase in the expenditure in case of pensions and healthcare costs for the state. So when states are having aged population, their revenue potential also decreases. And younger states, they need higher spending for creation of infrastructure and for creation of jobs. So that is how all states are having different kind of issues. So there is a need for reforms by the states in order to combat the fiscal deficit. So the first type is institutional reforms. So they want to adopt FRBM laws and medium term fiscal planning. Reforms in expenditure. In order to control corruption and increase transparency, there is a need for direct benefit transfer and adoption of national pension system. When you move to digital instead of paperwork, there will be transparency and less corruption. So when you are debiting money directly to the account of the individual, there will be more transparency, less chance for corruption as well. In case of taxes, GST implementation and digitization. So this will be reforms required in tax sector. So by using technology, we are increasing transparency through e-governance and tracking through digital tracking systems and improving the compliance. So, to strengthen physical framework, we want to adopt flexible risk-based fiscal rules and to allow counter-cyclical policies and to broaden tax base to improve revenue capacity and improve the compliance through usage of technology in tax sector as well. Regarding expenditure, reduce the subsidies, control the pension liabilities and improve the efficiency of welfare schemes. Whatever welfare schemes are undertaken, we need to increase the efficiency of those schemes, and also we need to increase transparency by using better data systems and by following certain standard regulations. Regarding different sectors, we need to address the power sector inefficiencies and promote sustainable borrowing. Moving to the next topic, India's new GDP series, which is considering base year as 2022-23. So, MOSPI releases the GDP and it is considering base year as 22 to 23, replacing 2011-12. So, what is the purpose of this? In order to capture shifts like the digital economy, gig work and post-pandemic recovery. It is released on Feb 27 of 2026. So, MOSPI changing base year from 2011 to 12 to 2022 to 23. So, what are the main reforms? We need to understand double deflation here. So, in older method they used to calculate single deflation. Here only output value is considered, which is deflated, assuming only input prices. Okay. So, what about new method? Here inputs and outputs both have been calculated separately using specific different price indices. So, what is the impact of the new method over old method? It provides more accurate real GVA for manufacturing, agriculture and corrects overestimations. Okay. What about the supply and use tables? They are used to reconcile production side with expenditure side. So, what is production side? Whatever you are creating. What is expenditure side? Whatever you are buying to produce, that is considered under expenditure side. So, what happens? It will reduce the discrepancies in the data when you are considering both. So, in new data resources, GST network is considered, replacing old one, and annual surveys are used to estimate the informal sector. Okay. Let's see its impact on economic indicators. So, on nominal GDP, it has been decreased. Okay. Real GDP growth is increased 7.6% for the financial year 26, and fiscal deficit also increased, and debt to GDP ratio also increased. Okay. What about the shifts in the different sector, especially agriculture and manufacture? In agriculture, increased. Okay. Whereas in manufacture also it increased, but very less. Okay. In case of services, the share decreased. So, what do you have to remember here for the exam? Did the economy shrink? No. It's not shrinking. What about 2022-23 is a normal year? It was chosen as a base year because it is the first stable year post the recovery of the corona. And does this affect tax collections? No, not actually. Here the tax to GDP ratio only changes. So here a back series is calculated, that means historical data is calculated with the new base and it will be released in December 2026. Why you are calculating historical data considering the new base year? So whenever the base year changes, you will be considering that base year and calculating the previous data also in order to compare them having same values. So that is how base year is useful for us to compare different values in the different years. So for complete notes, please visit our website. For complete UPSC preparation, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Telegram channel. For past videos, please check our playlist. Links are given in the description box below. Thank you.